So this video is going to be a public service announcement. Many of us run highly modified vehicles, and if you do, chances are you're using RCV axles. RCV axles are solid. I've been using them for about 10 years. The only Achilles heel that they have is the boot. The CV joint boot, the bright orange one that lets everyone know you have RCV axles. These things tear like a Kleenex, and replacing them can get quite costly, and it costs a lot of time. I built this truck very specifically so that I could go wherever I had to go, and if anything went wrong, I could take care of myself as far as repairing what I had to repair, getting to where I had to go, filming what I had to film, and continuing onward. Currently, I've been on the road for 10 months, and I'm going for a year. And in that time, I've had to replace my RCV boots twice on the road. That can get very complicated, but fortunately, after several tries, it seems that RCV has fixed the problem, and I'm going to show you what that fix is, and it's straight up. Because since I replaced these boots with the new fix, this truck has gone 20,000 miles, and I have put this thing through absolute hell, and I'm going to show you how to do it as well. So here we go.
I'm Sam. I'm Amy. We're from California, and this is JailBreak.
Nice. Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
Now, real quick, before I show you the fix, I'm going to explain my build because it was very intentional. I wanted this truck to be 100% bulletproof, and I did it myself. I bought this thing, a 2019. I wanted a 2019 TRD Pro. I didn't want black, but that's what I got. It is what it is. And these comparison pictures I'm showing right now don't do it justice because the truck is now on 37s with a Dana 60 in the rear and a long travel total chaos suspension up front. So the truck is much bigger and badder than it was originally. So I just thought I'd put that out there real quick. But this truck is no joke. I built this thing to take an absolute whooping. And every time I entered ass whooping mode in the truck, the CV boots would rip and they would throw grease all over the place. Now my axles don't have any grease, and I have to stop someplace on the road and tear down my entire front end just to get at the axle boots, and it sucked. But after the fix that they finally gave me that actually worked, I took this thing out for 20,000 miles on the highway and then took it on every road from East Coast to West Coast to see if I could tear these things. Now, this video has chapters. If you want to get right to the fix, go to it. But I'm going to show you some badass examples that these boots have stood up to thus far. So you've seen me doing the testing. Now let me show you the build. Many people aren't familiar with the build of this truck because I've never actually done a final walk around video. So I want you to see what these RCV axles are supporting. Everything that's rolling on top of it. Or you could skip it. So being a 5th gen 4Runner, she's got the 4.0 V6 in it. I installed the Magnuson supercharger myself, as well as the Expedition 1 huge windshield washer tank, a Mishimoto oil catch can because it's supercharged, CSF Racing radiator in the front, North Star battery, 100 amp hour, and I've got a Metaltech front bumper, tons of rigid and Baja design lights, 2 Bantam S-Pod X's because I've got a lot of switches, and obviously you can see the intercooler for the supercharger is under the hood right there. Aftermarket, I forget who makes I think they're Mishimoto, I'm not sure. My front headlamps, I don't remember. I changed them a couple of times over time. And I've got triple bypass King shocks all the way around. 17-inch rims, 37-inch mud terrain KM3s, Metaltech rock sliders, Kings in the rear, C4 swing out rear dual bumper, and I built in rigid lights to the bumper myself, and the spare tire, blah, blah, blah. You can see all that. V-Locks gull wings, which are phenomenal. Rigid work lights on the side, Front Runner Slimline 2, Alucab Gen 3R on top, Baja design lights in the front, an 8,000 pound worn Xeon winch under the bumper because that's all you could fit in that particular bumper, and that winch works perfectly. 2 racks of Baja design lights on the front because I don't like the dark and I go off-road alone all the time. 99% of the time, actually. I prefer to go by myself, and if anything goes wrong, I pull myself out one way or the other. Worst case scenario, you got a satellite phone, son. I incorporated everything as close to factory as humanly possible because this truck is actually a project that nobody's really familiar with, except for maybe a couple of people. RCI skid plates all the way underneath. It has a Marlin Crawler dual transfer case, Dana 60 in the rear, RCV long travel axles in the front, Total Chaos long travel suspension in the front, Dobinson upper and lower control arms in the rear, Dobinson springs, the super heavy duties in the rear, and that's pretty much it. So let's get to the point of this video. I just wanted to show you that I actually did. Before I made this video, I wanted to make sure that this was going to work because I changed those RCV boots a total of 4 times, maybe even 5 in 2 years, until RCV finally gave me a different path, and this path actually seems to have worked. So let me show it to you. Here's the ugly. Swapping out the RCV boots. RCV hooked me up and they got a new recipe, so we're going to try it out and see if it works. Still in California, thus far. Now, because I have dual front shocks, I have to tear this entire coil spring and everything out in order to get at the axle so I can put on the new boots, which absolutely sucks because every time you pull apart the front end, a bolt strips, a nut strips, something doesn't go back together right. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to do this a lot. And with my RCV axles, which I paid a ton of money for, I was doing this constantly and it sucked. But RCV told me, they sent me the new orange shocks and they said this: when you install the new boots, make sure it's exactly 4.3 from band to band, and that will solve the problem. So upon hearing that, I was totally stoked. I'm at my buddy's house in California doing this in his garage. This takes all day to do. You saw how much I had to rip down in order to get these things on, but I was stoked. Now we had the secret formula and we were good to go, right? Well, turns out that didn't work at all. And Sandy Katz, a fellow YouTuber who also has an almost identical truck to mine, witnessed it. I made it further for an oil change, which is 5,000 miles, than the new RCV Boots did. Now, granted, what you're looking at right now is my third time doing this on this one particular road trip. Twice I did them in California, and I ended up with the exact same result, which was a blown out boot, which was throwing grease everywhere except on the axles themselves. So I was pissed. I was pissed. So much so that I went to another company called CALI and ordered a set of axles for $1,200 plus $350 core charge, shipping, etc. But Sherpa Motorsports told me that they ran these things on the King of the Hammers. So I'm going to throw away my $500 RCV axles and throw these things in. And right as I'm about to do that, as these new axles are being delivered, RCV comes up with this. Instead of installing their awesome orange high temperature boots, try these new black boots they came out with. They're not orange, but they're more friendly to non-racing vehicles. And guess what? Those are the ones I've been running for the last 20,000 miles without an issue at all. And these boots have been through hell. Hell. So the other axles that I ordered, I'm keeping them at my buddy's shop out the Ozarks just in case I snap an axle or whatever. But it turns out the orange boots just can't work on a vehicle that isn't a race truck. A race truck races and then they swap everything out. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like when everybody's ordering these and everybody's talking about this on social media, they would have come up with this fix sooner. But here's the deal. They did come up with the fix. They sent me new clamps, they sent me grease, they sent me the boots, everything, and everything worked out well. So I'm stoked because the peace of mind of having RCV axles up front is everything. It's independent front suspension, and I went from 7 years of having a straight axle 80 to worrying about snapping this, and I'll tell you what, I've done some serious off-roading and tons of water crossings. Watch the documentary that I did on the Ozarks, 30 Days in the Ozarks, and look how many times this truck has been underwater, and these bad boys have held up. And there it is. Easy peasy. Took a while. There's a lot of pain in the ass involved, a lot of blood, sweat, and swears, but I got it done, and RCV walked me right through it, so I got nothing bad to say. At any rate, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, hit the little bell next to it so you're notified, because YouTube doesn't notify people of channels they subscribe to anymore, so you got to ask. And leave a comment below and I will return the favor. I am out.